The movie starts by introducing us to a guy named Lucas. Lucas used to be a boxer and worked as a bodyguard in South Africa. But when his wife passed away, he couldn't stay there anymore, so he moved to Belgium with his daughter Sarah. Lucas even changed their names to hide from people. He had to be both a dad and a mom for Sarah. Even though Lucas looks tough, he's a great dad. Right now, he works as a security guard in a nightclub in Belgium. His job is to make sure troublemakers don't cause problems, and he's quick to kick them out if they do. The next day, there's another fight at work. Lucas quickly grabs the guy causing trouble, but little did Lucas know, this would be his last night on the job. The troublemaker doesn't like how Lucas is handling things and tries to attack him. Lucas manages to dodge, and the troublemaker falls and knocks himself out. In the middle of all this, one of Lucas's buddies, Omar, tells Lucas to go home, and he'll take care of the unconscious guy. The following day, Omar meets up with Lucas again, but it's not good news. He tells Lucas that he's been fired. This hits Lucas hard because he really needs the job to take care of his daughter. Not long after that, Omar tells Lucas about a job opening as a bouncer at a different club. He really encourages Lucas to apply for the position. Lucas isn't initially keen on the idea, but with his daughter's school expenses going up, he feels like he doesn't have much choice. So, Lucas decides to check out the club Omar mentioned. When he gets there, he meets the owner, Jan Deckers. Jan wastes no time and takes Lucas downstairs to meet some other guys applying for the job. Jan makes it clear that only the toughest will make the cut. Surprisingly, one guy beats up Lucas pretty bad, almost knocking him down for good. But Lucas knows this is his last chance, so he manages to get back on his feet and takes on the other candidate. A little while later, Jan shows up and witnesses Lucas coming out on top in the fight. Jan tells Lucas to start working the next Friday. After that, Lucas went home to take care of his injuries. But his daughter, Sarah, had already seen the bruises and was really upset that her dad got hurt. Lucas tried to reassure her, telling her he'd be okay. Once he got the job as a club bouncer, Lucas could finally start providing for his daughter's needs. However, one day, out of the blue, 2 police officers showed up at his door, saying it was about the fight he had a few days ago. They took Lucas to their boss, Maxim. At first, Maxim talked about that fight at the club and mentioned that Lucas and his daughter were in danger because the troublemaker he'd fought turned out to be the son of a European Parliament member. The kid's powerful dad wouldn't let this slide, even though Lucas hadn't really hurt the guy. After all that, Maxim had a proposition for Lucas. He said he could keep Lucas safe from the troublemakers, but Lucas had to help him catch a Dutch guy who was into some serious money counterfeiting, wanted in a bunch of countries. At first, Lucas didn't quite get why Maxim was talking about all this or what it had to do with him. Turns out, the businessman Maxim was talking about was actually Jan, the guy who owned the club where Lucas worked. At first, Lucas said no to the deal, but Maxim threatened him and his daughter's safety. Lucas started working at the club, and one day, he saw a lady who wanted to meet January, another guy from the club. John told her Jan wasn't available and asked Lucas to take her home. Lucas did, but he quickly let Maxim know about it, telling him there was an Italian lady wanting to see January, but Maxim didn't know who this woman was. And Jan, the club owner, started getting suspicious of Lucas. He asked Lucas to get into his car. Jan got pretty curious about Lucas and decided to snoop around his phone, finding a number to call. Feeling guilty about it, he told John, his buddy, to get out of the car and asked Lucas to drive him home. During the ride, Jan started asking Lucas about his past. Lucas explained that he used to work as a bodyguard in South Africa, but came back to Belgium after his wife passed away. That's why not many people knew him here. Because of this incident, Jan finally figured out where Lucas lived and his daughter's name. This got Lucas worried about Sarah's safety, so he called up Maxim and told him about it. But Maxim didn't seem to care and even wanted Lucas to spy on Lisa and her connection to January. Then, Jan called Lucas and urgently asked him to pick up Lisa, as he didn't want any harm to come to his daughter. Lucas took Sarah with him everywhere he went. Lisa wanted Lucas to take her to the boulevard, but when they got there, they found Jan waiting. Jan asked Lucas to come inside because John was there too. But right when they met John, Lucas heard his daughter scream. He rushed outside and saw Jan taking her away. Lucas stormed back inside and warned John to give his daughter back right away. But John cautioned him, saying that being aggressive would only make his daughter stay away longer. With no better option, Lucas finally went along with all of John's demands. It seemed like Jan was holding Sarah hostage to make Lucas do what he wanted. Jan wanted them to find the best drug maker in Europe because a Dutchman had refused to cooperate with him before. He would only accept Jan's offer if Jan could bring this person to him. Lucas hurried to the drug maker's house, trying to sneak in and find the man. After searching for a while, Lucas eventually located him and quickly got him out of there. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Sarah was with Lisa as her father hadn't arrived yet. Sarah started chatting with Lisa. Lisa asked about Sarah's family background. Sarah explained that her dad used to be a bodyguard for her granddad, and that's where her parents met. Lisa, curious, then asked about her mother. Before long, Lucas arrived and quickly took his daughter away from Lisa's place. This incident made Lucas more cautious, and he began avoiding encounters with Maxim. But Maxim sought him out personally. Lucas, concerned for his daughter's safety, said he quit his job. However, Maxim threatened to send him back to South Africa if he didn't do as he was told, so Lucas felt like he had no other choice. On the same night, Lucas met Jan again, and Jan apologized for what happened the previous night. It was tough for Jan to find someone trustworthy. This made Jan trust Lucas completely. Hearing this, Lucas asked Jan not to involve his daughter again. The next day, Lucas, John, and Lisa were supposed to trade the captured man for the Dutch businessman. But when they got to the meeting spot, they were suddenly ambushed. Feeling scared, Lucas rushed back to the car, and they sped away. However, the attackers kept following them no matter where they went. Eventually, Lucas and the others tried to hide among some parked cars, but the pursuers spotted them. Lucas, filled with anger at the loss of his friend, leaped out of the car, seeking revenge. When he looked inside the car, he saw that the people inside had also been shot and killed. Afterward, Lucas and Lisa finally met with January. Seeing Lisa in tears, Jan asked what had happened. He peered into the car and saw that John was dead. Sadly, Jan didn't seem to care about the loss of his trusted associate. He was more concerned about the items they had with them. In fact, Jan was willing to burn the car, along with John, to erase any evidence. Meanwhile, Jan's trust in Lucas grew stronger, and he decided to share his secret plan with him. Jan and Lisa were planning to counterfeit a lot of money soon, and Jan believed he needed Lucas's help. However, Lucas saw this as a new threat to himself and his daughter. To ensure his daughter's safety and keep her out of this dangerous situation, Lucas quickly gathered all of Sarah's belongings and asked his friend Omar to look after them. In short, Lucas met with Lisa to proceed with their plan. When they arrived at her apartment, Lisa hadn't opened the door, which worried Lucas. Eventually, he had to force the door open to find her. It turned out that Lisa had isolated herself because she was still deeply grieving John's death. Lisa also shared her difficult family background. Her father owned a small printing press in a remote area of Italy, and after his death, her and her mother's financial situation deteriorated due to mounting debts. This led Lisa to start counterfeiting money as a way to pay off her father's debts, but things had spiraled out of control. Lisa also inquired about Lucas's wife, and he shared the heartbreaking story of her death in a carjacking accident. Learning about this tragedy made Lisa feel that Lucas was even sadder than she was. The following morning, Lucas escorted Lisa to the warehouse where the counterfeit money was stored. As soon as he discovered its location, Lucas reported it to Maxim. Shortly after, Maxim captured Lisa and then went to the warehouse to check the money. However, upon arrival, they found only an empty box, as Jan had successfully moved the money to another storage place. Lucas was taken aback by this unexpected turn of events. He realized that their best chance of finding the money was to free Lisa. Maxim promptly arranged a meeting between Lucas and Lisa and urged her to cooperate with them. Lisa was initially shocked by Lucas's actions, but eventually agreed to work together to capture Jan, with the promise of her safety in return. Later, when Lucas returned home, he found Jan waiting for him. Initially, Lucas thought that his cover had been blown, but it turned out that Jan suspected someone else and asked Lucas to eliminate that person. This man accused Lisa and Lucas of betrayal because he had trusted them. Jan disregarded the man's words and shot him. The following day, Lisa had been released, and Jan forced her to continue counterfeiting money. After many failed attempts, Lisa finally succeeded in producing counterfeit money that closely resembled the real thing. As a reward for Lucas's hard work, Jan asked him to buy a toy for his daughter. Suddenly, Maxim and his henchmen arrived. Jan realized that Lucas was the real traitor behind everything. Maxim shot Jan, revealing that his goal was not to stop the counterfeit money operation, but to take control of the counterfeit money for himself. However, Lucas was not an easy target, and he quickly regained consciousness and fought back. Eventually, Lucas emerged victorious and eliminated Maxim's remaining henchmen. After the deaths of these people, Lucas planned to rescue Lisa, but sadly, he couldn't save her. Eventually, Lucas, with blood on him, got into his car, and then his phone rang. He answered it, and it was his daughter calling. The moral lesson that we can take from this story is, when life gets tough, pretend a bit, make some unexpected friends, and never miss a call from your daughter.